Hello, welcome back to my channel. Natalie here. And as you can see, I have updated the channel name, or at least the icons. I haven't changed the name yet. It's still Empower Her After 40, but I'm getting ready to upgrade it because I've been following the stats on the channel, and I thank you all who have just joined. Anybody who's been here with me from the beginning, I want to thank you all, because it's quite a challenge trying to figure out how to niche down to serve the people who are watching, right? So I've tried some different things, and at this point, I've narrowed it down to questions that women over 40 have, and furthermore, questions that women over 40 have about stepping into their power, going against the grain, not doing what everybody else is doing, right? Like just finding your, how do you want to see that? Setting yourself free from the limitations that you have been bound by, either through family ties, societal ties, finding out like truly who you are. And that's not always easy. And one of the things, and you'll see if you go to my homepage, and you'll see that I have, I put empowered and fearless, because one of the things that holds us back from stepping into our power, ladies, is the fact that we're afraid. We're afraid of what everyone's going to think. And I've talked about this before, but I'm going to share with you my own story and something recent in how that manifests. So, and even here on this channel, right? As I post things, I've given myself the grace, one, to make mistakes. You have to do that. You have to give yourself the grace to make mistakes. So let's do that first. Let's talk about, some things that you need to get yourself on that journey, right? One is the grace to make mistakes. And, I just recently, I had a video I posted. I made a mistake. I called the wrong name out, and someone was in the comments talking about it. And I came on and made a correction. So as well as being fearless and giving yourself grace to make mistakes is ownership of anything that happens because of your mistake. Anything. So actually being accountable is the next one, right? Like, so being accountable for any errors that you make. So, and that can be hard because people are sometimes harsh to judge. They don't know. Let me watch this right now. Let me change this. People don't always know why you made mistakes, but they just, people will come on, they see you, right? Especially on social media, they see you, they see who they think you are, because most of you watching don't really know me. You just know me here. You don't know me in my personal life. So you only know what I tell you here and what I bring to you here. And so I think it's fair, and I don't even take it personally if you post something negative in the comment, unless you're derogatory. I may, X you out. And then again, I may not, because I don't even take it. It's not really personal to me. That's your opinion, and you can think what you want. And that's part of being fearless, right? Part of being fearless is no longer reacting to someone else's opinion about you, or what you think, in a way that puts you in an altercation with them, or pulls you out of your power, right? Or that rattles you or shakes you. Like someone posts something and I'm like, ooh, like that's terrible. Like I made a mistake. No, I made a mistake. I have a channel. I come here and I say things. I videotape myself. It's not, I don't edit I edit after the fact, and I might miss some edits when I realize that maybe I said something that, I wasn't ready to say or share with you, or maybe I just made an error, right, in speaking, because when I'm doing my research, I'm researching not just for this video, I'm researching for other videos, and sometimes, things, your brain gets a little mixed up. And I do use a teleprompter at times, but like a day like today, I am not using a teleprompter. Teleprompters are great, but sometimes it's just nice to come out and just be myself, right? Like you just see me for who I am. And so the next part of this is that you have, what did I say? I said you have to be You have to be able to give yourself grace when you make mistakes, take accountability when you make the mistakes, and also just be willing to, because the other thing is that whether it's on social media or not, is people will give you heat for not having the same opinion as they do, right? And then after giving you heat for not having the same opinion as they do, if for some reason down the line you change your mind, which by the way, you're allowed to. I'm allowed to come here and make a statement based on what I think is. And then, upon further research, or, something comes up that maybe I didn't know, because I don't know everything. I come here and I speak my mind. I share with you what I think. I share with you my experiences, but I'm not a know-it-all. So I don't know everything. And I'm very grateful when some of you put comments that can enlighten me, especially if you give me things to back it up, right? That I can research, because I like to do research. And sometimes it's just common sense, right? But I think that, you also give yourself grace to be able to change your mind and not be held to maybe a point of view that you had 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and be able to change your mind. And on that note, I want to talk about something in that aligns with that, where you may be afraid to make that switch and be authentic, like step into your authentic self. It's like, when someone sees you when someone knew you, especially the people that knew you from when you were a kid to now, you're in your 40s, right? The person you were when you were 5, and the person you were when you were 15, and the person you were when you were 30, and the person you are when you're 45, 50, you evolve, you change, your view of the world changes, your view of how you see your life changes. So if somebody knew you when you were 15, they haven't been around you, and they don't know what you've been doing they may assume they know what you're doing, but they don't know what you've been doing. They don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you value. They don't know, and so those people may always, no matter what you say, they may always look at you as who you are. And, the fear from you might be the fear of judgment from those people. But what you need to realize is that we're not supposed to be afraid of people. If there's somebody in your life that you are afraid to be authentic with, then these are some people in your life that, first of all, you need to rethink why you are afraid to be authentic with those people, because people should just like you for who you are. And if they don't like you, that is perfectly okay. They don't have to like you. There are plenty of people out in this world for them to go like, right? It doesn't have to be you. And sometimes we get stuck on, why doesn't that person like me? Well, that person maybe is not supposed to like you. Maybe the person who you are doesn't align with who that person is. And unless somehow along the line, like you guys align, and you can align either with that person's values or they can align with yours, you're not going to get along. Like, you're not going to get along in that way, or maybe not in the way that you want to. And the thing is realizing that this is okay. This is perfectly okay. Because what lies on the other side of that is freedom. Freedom from caring what anybody thinks. Freedom from, the scrutiny that comes with speaking your mind, right? But the additional freedom that comes with that is your freedom in getting to know yourself and what you truly value. Because if you are someone who had those values stifled, if you are someone who didn't regularly speak your mind, now when you start speaking your mind, right? Like, you might have an idea today, like you might be like, yeah, I believe that thing, right? Like I saw that and I believe that. Oh, this is why social media is such a rabbit hole. I have found that it is such a rabbit hole that you might listen to someone, they might sound like, it might be me, right? I might sound like super authentic, and you might be like, yeah. And then you might hear someone else's point of view on something that I said, and that might align more with your values. And that's okay also. The idea is not to get everybody in a group mob mentality. The idea is to put ideas out there so that everyone can make up for their own mind, to make up their minds for themselves what they align with. And you have to be okay to own your change of mind, changing your mind about things and fluctuating. And like I said, especially if you're someone who hasn't been allowed to, or has always had other people thinking for you or telling you how you should be and how things should be and what you should think and what is right and what is wrong. When you start to do it for yourself, of course, let me tell you, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to walk into some situations. You're going to be like, damn, like that. Not never again. I'm not walking to that crap again, right? Because that's not what you value, and you're finding out this is not what you value. But the thing is that without walking into that, like somebody could tell you like 100 times, you're probably not gonna heed the warning because you didn't have your experience, because that's what they value. And they would like for you to value what they value, but is that what you truly value? And until you realize for yourself what it is that you value, you got to have your own experiences, and you have to be allowed to speak your mind. And I don't want to call it make mistakes with speaking your mind. Just speak your mind and evolve, because it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake that I mean, and we all make mistakes. That's not, I'm not saying that we don't make mistakes, but things that you think that are where your thought process is different than someone else's, it's not a mistake. It's just that you are evolving, and you may never think how they think. And you have to, we have to get to a point where we realize that that's okay, because people will sometimes use fear tactics. You don't know how many videos I see online where people are like, oh, if I don't believe this thing, like my mom is gonna disown me. The silent treatment, they won't talk to me. That's toxic. That's toxic. Like, they don't have to agree with what you agree with, but now we're going into the silent treatment. Look, I have become the queen. I am the queen of being okay with the silent treatment. I've seen it my whole life in different phases of life from different people. And guess what? If somebody like that is toxic, like when you start to figure out that these things are toxic, you just become okay with it. Like, what can they do? Like, they go, oh, we're not going to talk to you. Okay, well, that's fine. That's your right. And then you move on. Here's the thing. Now there's nothing. Now the control's all gone, right? That person now has lost control, because the control was that they were going to talk to you and they were going to make you feel bad. But when you go, okay, that's fine, and you move on, then there's no more feeling bad. What's the control now? Like, what else are they going to do? What else can they do about it? Nothing, right? So it's a stupid tactic, I think, to use the silent treatment. This is something I don't use with my children. They don't get the silent treatment from me because I just think it's ridiculous. I tell them what I think, and then I let them make up their minds about what they're going to do, whether I like it or I don't like it, or whether I think it's good or it's not good, because sometimes what I don't think is good for them may end up being good for them, right? Because I'm not living their lives. And everybody, this is where this is one other point that I want to make to you ladies out there, as you are setting yourself free from those chains, I call them, those chains of emotional manipulation, the chains of not having your voice heard, or being told that you're being, you're talking too much, or you're talking too loud, or you're breaking up the family. I mean, I've heard it all. I have heard it all, right? But here's the thing. Do you not break up the family at your expense? And I'm not saying to go out there and destroy your family. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if someone cannot respect that something is good or not good for you, how does you going along with what they want help you? Just to keep the peace. Whose peace are you keeping? Because it's not yours. So you're keeping someone else's peace, and you don't even, like, at that point, do you even understand, like, what peace it is that they're trying to keep? And why they are so invested in, like, because they can make their own decisions about what they do, right? So why are they so invested in your decisions about what you do that most of the time doesn't even really, doesn't really affect them one way or another? Like, it's your choice, right? And so it's, just hard times, especially right now going into the holidays. This is a really important conversation because I think, being empowered and fearlessly empowered is not easy. It's not easy. You know, I would like to tell you, like, oh, it's going to be smooth sailing. No, it's not smooth sailing. And if anybody gets on here and they tell you, like, oh, this is some easy shit, it's not. It's not. You know, you're going to go through your trials and you're going to go through your mind about it. You're going to make decisions. You're going to, when you do make decisions, you're going to rethink your decisions. Sometimes you're going to do a double take, and you're going to maybe want to backtrack on the decision that you make because there's going to be so much pressure from those around you. And that pressure is coming because they are treating you the way they think, that as the person they think you were maybe 15, 20, 30 years ago. But that's not who you are right now, right? And some people may never want to see you as the person you are right now, but just because they don't see you as the person that you are right now does not mean that you have to go and fit into the mold that they have for you. You know, and sometimes we can do it for a minute. You know, we all do it, right? Like you go to your parents' house and then they just want certain things and you're like, oh, I'm here for a few hours a day or whatever. And then you're like, okay, I gotta go back. I gotta go. Right? Like, cause you're not trying to be 2 years old again. You know, although you love your parents, you love your family, but you're not trying to be in a situation where people are overriding or discounting your opinion and what you value. And but yeah, being fearless. Let me know if you have any questions, any conversations that you'd like to have. I'd love to have this conversation with you ladies out there, because I gotta tell you, this one's tough. This is like step one in gaining authenticity, and it's the hardest step, and it's the step that you take that gives you back the most, that starts to bring in who you truly are. Because when you no longer are tied to what someone else is thinking about you, what they're going to say, being afraid of, you know, lashback from people, right? This is when you get to step out and just be yourself regardless. And people may be shocked. They may think like, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe she said that. How could she think that way? You know, because she and he has his own mind. That's how. You know, I have my own mind. I can go online. I can read a book and make my own conclusions. I don't have to come to a group. It doesn't have to be a group decision, right? These group decisions and conclusions about what is and what we should all value is kind of crazy. I think it's crazy making. And of course, there are some ground rules. We should all have ground rules for being respectful to each other, right? We should all have ground rules. But beyond those ground rules, right? And here's the thing. We can have all the rules that we want, and people might still not respect them. Now what do? That's why we have boundaries. Because boundaries say, if you break this ground rule, this is what happens on my side. If you do A, B, C, this is how I respond. This is the response that you're going to get from me. So, and we need to be, in order to do that, we need to be fearless, ladies. We need to be fearless, because you got to stand on business when it comes to your response. Or else people will continuously cross your boundaries. And then guess what happens when they do that? You don't say anything, you let them cross your boundaries, and then you get frustrated or you're upset and you're like the victim, and you're like, why is this happening to me? And why are they doing that? And you know, you're in the background, you're crying or you're reacting and you're stepping out of character because they said or did something. You know, where it just at some point, as hard as it might seem, it just becomes easier to just say, like, this person is behaving this way. I'm going to keep them at arm's length because I do not choose to have that type of behavior, that type of speech, those types of comments. I'm just going to stay away from that. And you can do that without saying a word. That's the beauty of fearlessness, because it's not like you have to announce to people like, this is my boundary and I'm not. No, you need to know your boundary. You need to know your boundary, because when you know your boundary, you can exert that boundary without saying a word. Do I have to tell somebody, if you behave this way, I will not come back to your house? Or do I just not go back the next time I'm invited? I just, no, thank you. I'm not available. No, oh, I'm busy. I'm going to be out of town. No. No. Exactly. I don't have to tell you. Because it's because my boundary is not up for discussion. My boundary is just my boundary. Right? So that's a couple other important things are that you need to know what you value, and you need to know what your boundaries are around what you value. Like, does your boundary say that I'm gonna give a warning first? Is it, and then if the warning doesn't work, then what am I gonna do next? Yeah, we need to know. And so this is all, and this is not, there are people, I just read a quote, I was on Reddit or TikTok, and this woman was 60, and she's saying, like, she still struggles with boundaries around her family. Yes, because it's hard. Someone asked, what was the question? It was like, at what point do you decide that you're going to, the question was, is it age or repetition that helps you set these boundaries and be fearless around people and not care what people think? And I love this answer. One of the ladies responded and said, well, I'm 60 and I'm still struggling. And someone else said, well, age gives you experience in setting boundaries. And honestly, it's a little bit of both, I think. But I think boundaries are a continuous thing. Like, it's repetition, right? Because if you're 50 or 60 and you've never set a boundary, and you've never said no, and you've never worked on being fearless and not caring what other people think, the first time you do it, of course it's going to be scary. And it takes doing it over and over and over and over again to be fearless. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly normal. And when you doing it over and over and over again is necessary, because why? Because people who look at you and look at you like they think you're the 50-year-old that they look at as that 15-year-old who was like you're 15, right? You think they're going to accept your boundary? They're not going to accept your boundary the first time you said it. They're going to look at you like you've lost your mind. Like, what do you mean? Like, you're different now? What do you mean things are different? What do you mean you're not doing this thing? What do you like? And then they're going to try to shame you for it. But this is where the rubber starts to meet the road, because this is where you need to know your boundaries, and you need to know what your boundary is, and how you need to have a plan for how you're going to set your boundary. And there's nothing wrong. People will say, like, why do I need a plan? Like, it doesn't look like other people have a plan. No, the people that you see that seem to be effortlessly setting boundaries, they've been doing it for a long time. And they continue to practice those boundaries. And it's not that people don't come and try to cross their boundaries. It's that when somebody comes to them and tries to cross their boundaries, they are so experienced that they have learned how to shut it down without saying too much. Because the best thing you to do is shut it down. And then if they ask you why, like, this is not an answer that you don't have to answer. Why? You need to give an explanation? Like, you're not a child. You probably live in your own space and you're doing your own thing, paying your own bills. Do you owe anybody an explanation as to why you can't make it to an event? Do you owe anybody an explanation as to why they're not allowed, why you're not allowing them to behave a certain way around you? and most of the time, the best thing, like I said, that you can do is not even not even tell them that you're setting the boundary. Somebody comes and they misbehave around me. Do you think I'm going to argue with them? No, I'm going to smile. I'm going to be pleasant because I like to be pleasant. It's not because I'm weak or I'm stupid or I didn't realize that they were trying to put me down. So most of the time, that's what it is, right? Like, we let our ego get in the way. And then our ego says, like, you can't let them talk to you that way. Well, how are you going to stop them? Are you going to knock them over their head and knock them out? Like, are you going to have a knockdown, drag out fight with them? If this is someone who's used to crossing somebody's boundaries, they have a comeback that you're probably not going to want to deal with, right? But it's taken for weakness, right? Sometimes when people look at you and people say things or do things and they're like, they just look at you like, oh, like, well, she didn't say anything, so she must be weak. Or he didn't say anything, so he must be weak. Like, he's easy. Like, you know what? Like, he's a pushover or she's a pushover. When in fact, you're not. Like, you're just preparing to set your boundary without arguing with the person. Like, because there's no need. Like, you already know there's no need for that argument. So let me know. I'm going to be talking about, different things that we can do as women and different issues that come up as we try to set this fearless boundary of not caring what other people think, because that's the freest you'll be, is when you don't care anymore what anybody thinks. And it's not caring, there's a difference between not caring what anybody thinks and not caring at all. I didn't say not caring at all, but when you put yourself first and what you need first above what other people want and need from you, this is a game changer in your life. Because this is when you realize that it's all an illusion. It's not true. You don't have to adhere to anything, right? Like, once the person says to you, if you don't do this, I'm not going to talk to you. And you say, okay, well, don't talk to me. Now what? So they have a right not to talk to you, right? But they're probably thinking, she's going to crack or he's going to crack. And then when you don't crack, they're like, damn, like, wait a minute. I thought that was, this is work with other people. Why is it not working? That's because you're fearless. Not because you're mean or not because you don't care for that person. It's just because, who are you to tell someone else? Just like, what I'm telling you, who are you to tell somebody else what boundary they should have? If that's their boundary and they want to not talk to you because they don't like something about you, that's their right. So why would I argue with you? That's your right. So, okay, we're not going to argue about it. I'm not going to beg you to stay, right? Because I'm not going to do what you want me to do. That's manipulation. And if it's not manipulation, then that's your boundary, and that's fine too. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Drop me a comment. Let me know. Because, this is something that I think is a very powerful tool, beginner's tool in getting your health back on track. This is a very powerful tool in getting back to the things that you love to do in life. This is a powerful tool in getting back to self-care, so that you can give back to those who love and respect you for who you are now. All right. Well, with that said, I am sending you love and I am sending you peace. And I want you to stay beautiful, empowered, inspired, and most of all, I want you to stay sexy so you can keep taking care of yourself and those around you. And you notice how I said, you got to take care of yourself so you can take care of those around you. Peace and love. Until next time.